Ever since you've been around, you make me wanna settle down. When I'm with you, I feel alright. People say we move too fast. I don't need to hear that. I just want you by my side. 'Cause I am ready. I am ready. I am ready for your love. 'Cause I've been waiting, holding steady. I am ready for your love. I like doing things with you. I like doing nothing too. How you give me steady love. Steady love. You wanna know the cold hard truth? I like everything about you. You are what I've been dreaming of. Oh yeah, sing. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready for your love. I've been waiting, holding steady. I am ready for your love. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready for your love. I've been waiting, holding steady. I am ready for your love. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready for your love. I've been waiting, holding steady. I am ready for your love.
There is too much space, craving up embrace. Why don't you just pick up the phone? Ain't it crystal clear that I need you right near? I can make it here alone. Hey, you know the drive me through a lot of history to see you, see you. It's been a mystery, and if you're missing me tonight, when I'm meant to be, then it is time for me to move on, move on. Gotta grab, get some control of the beat that must. The feeling is right, so right. The moon and all the stars are shooting across the sky tonight, tonight.
Waking up with the rain on my window, feeling like I'm on my own. Put the weight of the world on my pillow, these memories I can't let go. Kinda like a daydream, even when I can't sleep. There's a voice in the wind getting closer, telling me that I can go. So I'm going to a place for a change of view. I need a little space beyond the blue. I'm taking a flight, breaking the atmosphere. Climb into the night, finally free. All my life, locked up in my room. All my life, and the light ain't coming through. I need time to know what's true, 'cause nobody can find you if you're hiding on the moon. I found my escape from the mirror, telling me I'm alone. A new place, but it seems so familiar, feeling like I'm at home. I wanna get away to something new. I made a little space beyond the blue. I'm taking a flight, breaking the atmosphere. Climb into the night, finally free. All my life, locked up in my room. All my life, and the light ain't coming through. I need time to know what's true, 'cause nobody can find you if you're hiding on the moon. Taking a flight, breaking the atmosphere. Climb into the night, finally free. All my life, locked up in my room. All my life, and the light ain't coming through. I need time to know what's true, 'cause nobody can find you if you're hiding on the moon.
was a fool to think that you would wait for me. Why did I let you go? But I can't help but find your picture one more time to see your face light up my phone. I don't know what the future will be holding. All I know is I wanna be holding you. No, I didn't think I needed your love, but you're the only one that I've been thinking of. I'll do anything to get back your love. Said that you want me, said that you want me back. Just tell me what I gotta do to get you in my life, just like we were before. Before I quit, I lost my grip, I let you slip out into the night, and once you close the door, I don't know what the future will be holding. All I know is I wanna be holding you. No, I didn't think I needed your love, but you're the only one that I've been thinking of. I'll do anything to get back your love. Said that you want me, said that you want me back. No, I didn't think I needed your love, but now I don't think I could ever get enough. I'll do anything to get back your love. Said that you want me, said that you want me back. No, I didn't think I needed your love, but you're the only one that I've been thinking of. I'll do anything to get back your love. Say that you want me, say that you want me. No, I didn't think I needed your love, but now I don't think I could never get enough. I'll do anything to get back your love. Say that you want me, say that you want me back.
Waking up with the rain on my window, feeling like I'm on my own. Put the weight of the world on my pillow, these memories I can't let go. Kinda like a daydream, even when I can't sleep. There's a voice in the wind getting closer, telling me that I can go. So I'm going to a place for a change of view. I need a little space beyond the blue. I'm taking a flight, breaking the atmosphere. Climb into the night, finally free. All my life, locked up in my room. All my life, and the light ain't coming through. I need time to know what's true, 'cause nobody can find you if you're hiding on the moon. I found my escape from the mirror, telling me I'm alone. A new place, but it seems so familiar, feeling like I'm at home. I wanna get away to something new. I made a little space beyond the blue. I'm taking a flight, breaking the atmosphere. Climb into the night, finally free. All my life, locked up in my room. All my life, and the light ain't coming through. I need time to know what's true, 'cause nobody can find you if you're hiding on the moon. I'm taking a flight, breaking the atmosphere. Climb into the night, finally free. All my life, locked up in my room. All my life, and the light ain't coming through. I need time to know what's true, 'cause nobody can find you if you're hiding on the moon.
Last Friday I clocked out at around about 9:30. 3 suits around me, us wanna hit the town tonight. Sure.
Let's go to Angie's.
No, the Roxy.
Happy hour.
Before I know it, there's a taxi and I'm sipping something sour. Baby, can you hear me? I said you look great tonight. All good, have a good one. Just gonna step outside. So I called my mom and then I called my dad and then I found the boys all smoking around back and I told them, guys, it's not the vibe. Let's ride. When all of a sudden I feel weird, would you be judging if I wanted to go home? So I ask for a chat, get a clap on the back, Jack. The night is talk, but you never kissed an alien before. What you thinking? What you drinking, darling? You are nine. Baby, can you hear me? She said you look great tonight. Let's go back to my place. Just gonna step outside. So I called my mom and then I called my dad and then I found the boys all smoking around back. Then I told them, guys, I found the vibe. Let's ride. Then all of a sudden I feel weird. Would that be judgment if I wanted to go home? So I asked for the check. Don't mean to be so direct. She said the night is done. Do you want comfort or fun? Said no more. I was feeling unsure.
Ever since you've been around, you make me wanna settle down. When I'm with you, I feel alright. People say we move too fast. I don't need to hear that. I just want you by my side. 'Cause I am ready. I am ready. I am ready for your love. 'Cause I've been waiting, holding steady. I am ready for your love. I like doing things with you. I like doing nothing too. How you give me steady love. Steady love. You wanna know the cold hard truth? I like everything about you. You are what I've been dreaming of. Oh yeah, sing. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready for your love. I've been waiting, holding steady. I am ready for your love. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready for your love. I've been waiting, holding steady. I am ready for your love. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready for your love. I've been waiting, holding steady. I am ready for your love. Everyone will say you're lying, but they don't see you trying for so long. For so long. Yeah, they wanna bring the light in, but it just stays outside them for so.
Around at the people I see, everybody's living the dream. Starring in the show that we film on our phones, taking photos for pretend magazines. I don't want silver, don't want the bronze. I won't play party, I play the fines. Every time I see a shiny thing on a screen, I think, hey, maybe that could be me. Everybody's running, running after something golden, golden. We won't stop for nothing till we get that something golden, golden. Looking over there at the grass at your place, wondering why it's greener than mine. While you're looking over here at my studio space, wishing that you had that kind of time. I don't want silver, don't want the bronze. I won't play party, I play the fines. Try to keep my head down and just not care. But then, hey, what's that over there? Everybody's running, running after something golden, golden. We won't stop for nothing till we get that something golden, golden.
Hi, good morning. We're going to have you all come on in and take a seat. I know there's still other people coming in, but we do want to get started relatively close to on time. So good morning, good morning. Tracy, you can make all the trustees stand up for you all to get by. Come on in. Come on in. Good morning. We promise we will let you out in a couple of hours or less. So you can move to the middle because your friends are going to come in later and they're going to make you stand up. So you might as well kind of move to the middle. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Fall 2023. I am going to have us get quieted down because we're going to start as we should with a video of one of our students. And I want to make sure that we have quieted down enough to be able to hear his words in his video. So good morning. I am Sunny Cook. I serve as president at MiraCosta College. Welcome to the Fall 23 All College Day. Please, y'all that are standing in the back, come on in. Don't feel like we are going to take tardy notes or anything like that. It should have known it was you. Way to go. So again, we're going to start with a student voice. So please help me in welcoming in the voice of one of our students who last spring was recognized as only one of 5 scholars nationally to be designated as a Dream Scholar. So I want to thank the faculty, the dean that nominated Luis de Luna. He has a story that he's going to tell you a little bit about, and he's going to put it in his own words. So he was selected among hundreds and thousands of applications from across the nation. He was selected as one of 5 to go to the Dream Conference in Chicago in, was it March, February when we went? Not a good time to be in Chicago, but it was a great adventure for us all. And he got to spend time with other scholars from across the nation, leaders from across the nation, and they really developed a writing prompt that was, the prompt was I am. And so you're going to hear in Luis's voice, he's going to read in front of thousands of people in an enormous place, his story about I am. So if we could go ahead and start the video, that would be wonderful. And y'all that are in the back, come on in and get seated.
I am Luis de Luna. I am from the lazuli skies that house San Diego, from the moist soil that streams through my fingertips. I am from early mornings to work with my father. I remember the acrid taste of coffee on the tongue that widened my eyes as a child. I am from peculiar breakfasts, tortillas, lime, and slices of cheese, boiled eggs on the stove, milk mixed with Nesquik, store-bought chicken that you tossed when it became cold. I am from deliberate detention to be with my friends, because it was better to be a little mischievous than to be alone at lunch. I am from my high school's dance team where I spent half of my waking hours, where my body ached after long hell weeks, where our sweat mixed with our tears. Indeed, I am from San Diego, home of the brackish oceans and the honey-colored sands, jade leaves that became amber as the fall arrived, violet skies that enveloped the city in the winter. I am from Interstate 5, where endless car concerts took place, where Fleetwood Mac and Frank Ocean became good friends. I share my mother's heart that learned to be resilient, that a strong mind is found with discipline, that a good heart is found through love. I share my Father's mind to move forward despite the weights upon my feet, to learn to release the stones upon my back, to sit within my own hubris, to understand the strength of meditation, to dispel the ghosts inside. I am from the top bunk bed of a shared bed where I spend my hours watching chemistry lectures. I knew then that a life inside a lab was the dream I wanted. I am from long road trips to Berkeley, NPR playing from my car's radio, listening closely to find out what the next discovery could be. I am from MiraCosta College, where I began to take form, where the tools that I was gifted were used to change my directions, where the instructors raised me to ignore the adversity, where the environment eroded my dysfunction and carved me better. I will don the white lab coat and become a researcher, eventually, to lead the expedition to find the answers of gene therapies. I will be the one to break my ancestral glass ceiling, to overcome the odds and push against the grain, to be better than those before me and to reach my dreams. A doctoral degree is what I want, yeah. I will use my education to help those around me, to uplift those that were once in my same position and be a part of the change. This is who I am. I am from the starry moon that makes my last name De Luna. I am the I am. I am him, not them. I am Luis De Luna. Thank you.
So you can see that Luis was nominated by our biomanufacturing faculty and our Mike Fino, our dean of that program. And you can see that he represents truly our MiraCosta students. Our bachelor's degree program serves students who tell us over and over again that they would not have a bachelor's degree were it not for the quality, affordable program that is in our community. So that's a great way to start off what we're going to go through this morning. I just want to show you a brief agenda, and we will talk about our students. We will talk about the world that is changing, the way that we need to adapt and work together to support these amazing students in being the leaders of tomorrow. So with that, I would like to welcome our Board of Trustees Chair, Frank Merschat, to come and share some words with you.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. Well, welcome to all of those who taught summer school, those that are back after a break for the summer, all you new employees, special welcome to you, as well as to all the returning employees. As we acknowledge the original caretakers of the land on which MiraCosta College is built, the Luiseño people are made up of 7 bands: the La Jolla, Pala, Palma, Pachanga, Ringo, Rincon, San Luis Rey, and Saboba. We pay our respects to the Luiseño, past, present, and future, and are grateful to have the opportunity to be part of this community and to honor their history, culture, and spirit. We'll introduce the well, they say it's going to work. Oh, did I go too far? Nope. Okay. We're supposed to see a slide with the trustees' names. There's 7 of us. Anna Pedrosa. First, there they are. We'd like to have you stand when your name is called. Anna Pedrosa, Bill Fisher, George McNeil, Jackie Simon, Ray Clendenning, and Rick Kassar, who serves as your vice president. Now, last year at this time, we shared some of the things that are coming ahead, and want to sort of update you on some of those things right now. One of them is the financial position of the college. And one of the strangest things when you become a trustee is you find out how the state operates its budget. It tells us how much money we're going to get, and then 11 months later, if all goes according to their plan, they pay us that money. Well, with a $31.5 billion deficit, I guess it's no surprise that the state has taken back some of its money. And in this particular year, that's 60%. This represents an unbelievable almost $9 million. So we don't, of course, spend things on the last month of the year. We spend them monthly. So you can understand that the staff has to incredibly scramble to figure out how they're going to cover those bills. The second piece is something that I think all of us know is coming, but it's the commercial real estate values on which our income is based and represents about 11% of our budget, is under tremendous pressure. We'll see how this plays out over the next year, but it's something to keep our eyes on. And I think secondly is costs. I know a lot of us going into the pandemic heard a lot about supply chain. And I think all of us thought that when that was done, that there would be some sort of return to normal, reduction in price. And I think really what you see, especially with the new buildings and the construction that we're doing, is that that piece hasn't turned out to be true. Those prices have turned out to be very sticky. What would have cost us $700 approximately per square foot when we started this activity is now over $1,000 a square foot. That's from a financial perspective. But at the same time, and if it was only that, I think based on the planning that we did and the conservative nature of the numbers that we put down, we would have been fine. But there's two additional pieces to this that a lot of folks here don't see, but the staff does. And that's one, regulation. We're controlled, and the buildings that we build are controlled by the Department of State Architects. And as I count them, there might be more or less, but I count 33 projects. Virtually every one of those projects has been impacted in a negative way from cost based on additional requirements. The only ones I can really think of that don't qualify is the buildings we tore down. So thankfully they didn't ask us to pay more for that. But when you look at that, just one of those 33 projects cost us an additional $15 million because of changes in DSA requirements. Now, that's a significant hit, but when you take it across all the projects that we've done, it has had a huge impact. Last is jurisdictional. In the past, and I don't know how many years this is, but decades and decades and decades, we really only had to be responsible for DSA requirements. But for some particular reason, the cities that we operate in have taken their opportunity to increase their scope, and just one of those issues has cost us over just a little less than $2 million. So these are things that nobody could have foreseen coming. For decades, DSA was the only people that we had to deal with. So those are the issues associated with building, but at the same time, the increase in healthcare costs, which I think most of you know, we sort of signaled earlier on that we were getting information from the health care companies that we would be seeing about double-digit increases somewhere north of 15%. And I don't know about you, but I thought they were going to do the old overpromise or make it sound really bad and then make it not as bad. Well, we got our numbers yesterday, and our healthcare costs are going up 23.8%. I'm a sort of a finance guy by background, and I can tell you I've never seen anything even close to that. If you also add to that some pieces of the benefit package, we've already been signaled that they're going to go up 35% this year and 35% next year. So you might ask, okay, with all of that, what have you been doing from a board standpoint to make sure that the college is still on sound footing? And I think what you can see that we've done is be incredibly financially prudent. And we've done that in a long-term approach to financial stability, and you'll hear more about this today. But the good news is that the college remains incredibly financially strong and should be able to weather what we see today and what we expect in terms of these massive cost increases. From a facilities standpoint, I think based on the costs that I just shared with you, you understand that all the things that we wanted we couldn't get, but what we have done is made sure that everything that we feel is important and critical to the student mission is going to be done, and that there is a way forward for us to make that happen. So with that, we've also focused on futures. I think a lot of you have heard about some of the work that has been done during the summer and over the last 2 years to really focus on how we plan, because our goal is to have the financial resources and the human capital resources available to take advantage of all the opportunities as well as the challenges that we see coming down the road. Our equal opportunity work has been strengthening through the past decade, and we now have a chief idea officer who sits right down here in front, Dr. Wendy Stewart. She leads a department that's focused on our work across the college in equity and the future of equity in helping us create just, equitable, and sustainable future. The work we have done is showing some progress, and we're narrowing the gaps, and we can see progress being made. So our students and their voices have been heard, and we're working very hard in that area. And last, I know that a bit later today, you will have a world-class team talking you through and how we can better support our students through their educational journeys associated with guided pathways in the framework. So let me conclude by saying how grateful the board is for all of your dedication and exceptional service to our students in the community. And thank you, and have a wonderful fall session.
Okay, so I do want to go back to this slide to just say we do have a remarkable set of 7 board members who support and lead this district. And we also have a student trustee, Kenneth Pilko, who is one of our Puente students and was elected by our student body. And so he serves for 1 year and began his term in July. So I appreciate the support and the transparency with which we can be supported as a district. All of those people come to this work with very different perspectives, experiences, and many are educators, some are not. And the one thing they all have in common is that they care very deeply about our students, about helping them be prepared for their next step, and also they care very deeply about our community and their responsibility to our community. So I want to thank them. Could you please help me to thank them once again for their leadership. I also want to add my thanks to that of Frank, because the energy that you all bring to your work, the dedication, the passion, the intellect, the collaboration that you bring is just so vital and vibrant and just palpable. Whenever you walk into this room to start a semester, it really is amazing to see all of you. And I know there are some that are streaming that can't get away from their desk because they're serving our students. But I just want to say you all make the difference at MiraCosta College, and you are the ones that Luis talks about that change the trajectory of his life. So thank you for all that you do. We also couldn't be here without all the people that worked all summer long to get ready for this week, and more importantly, even next week when our students come back. So all of our classified staff, our administrators, our student ambassadors who've been out recruiting and outreaching, people that have been manning and womaning and serving our students and our community throughout the entire summer. And as we build up to this week, there are so many people to thank for the organization of this week. So I want to particularly recognize, I know I saw Aaron Roberts was here earlier. Would you stand? And also Jim Sullivan, Jim Julius, PDP members, all the PDP members, if you would stand. And Debbie Adler. Debbie, where are you? She's probably at her desk. Thank you all for planning a really wonderful week-long celebration. The DEC members, would you please stand and let us recognize you for a wonderful day yesterday? Suchi. Thank you. And then to get ready for today, I want to thank the ITS folks, Public Information Office, Jean Koshwanis in my office, Culinart, the Horticulture Department, so many people that work behind the scenes to get us ready for today. So, let's just make sure that we thank everybody for their hard work in getting us to be together this whole week today and then getting ready for our students. Some of us, this is a new beginning. Okay, these slides aren't showing with the slide. There's supposed to be a bunch of faces on here, but short of that, anybody that was, there they are. Anybody that was not with us last fall or is in a different role than you were in last fall, would you please stand and let us welcome you into the MiraCosta family? This is just a sampling of the many folks that are joining us, and it's really hard to count who's where because a lot of the folks that you see that stood or that are on this slide may have shifted positions, may have gone from an interim to a permanent position, may have gone to a different position. We do have 5 new faculty that are joining us this fall. And so we just want to say welcome. If you looked around that room and you saw somebody that's relatively new within their first year, please seek them out, make them feel welcome. For those of you that are new, please don't hesitate to ask for anything that you need. Ask for support, ask for guidance, ask questions. If you see something and you're doing this saying, what the heck is happening, please let somebody know. We're here to help you and we want you to get off to a good start. So welcome, and we look very much forward to you sharing your special talents and unique abilities with us at MiraCosta College. So welcome. I'm trying to, Anthony, I see all my communications folks, I'm trying to do the best thing I can with few words on a PowerPoint slide. So this is the flow, Luke Lotta, of my talk. He talked to me about flow yesterday. And so I want to give you a context about the state level. I want to give you a context about MiraCosta. I want to give you a context about uncharted waters that we are in, and all that with some backdrop, which is what those images remind me of. So Frank mentioned, I have now been a president in a California community college now for 17 years. And when the state tells us they're going to do something, I've stopped believing that. That Fleetwood Mac song, "Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow." I think a lot about tomorrow, and I don't really take things that are said literally, because I will give you an example. The state, the legislature, and our governor this year decided that they would award a historic COLA 8.22% COLA. We've not seen that in 32 years of California community college history. And in order to fund that COLA, we took 50% of the funding needed for an ongoing bill. We took it from last year. So Frank said we lost millions of dollars in the last month of last year at MiraCosta College, and that's going to pay an ongoing bill forever. And we don't get an 8.22 COLA at MiraCosta because we're not funded like most other community colleges are funded. We did not get 8.22% new money. We got much less than that. But I will tell you, just imagine this. I'm going to use Tracy as an example. Tracy has an amazing nephew, and she gives her nephew a very large gift for some special occasion last year. And then she decides in the last month of last year, you know what, I'm going to take that money back, and I'm actually going to take out a large mortgage on a brand new yacht, and I'm going to use that one-time money to pay my mortgage. Now, how long is that going to last? It's one-time money, and you're going to pay it for an ongoing bill. So I have to tell you, I don't think this is very wise, given the sense that tax revenues are very volatile right now. Right? We have some delays in people paying their taxes because of disasters that happen, flooding and fires. So tax revenue is not normal. Not everybody paid their taxes by April 15th. They may pay them all the way through November. So you really have no idea what's going to come in as state revenue. We were $32 billion short of where we should have been when this COLA was decided. So I just have to tell you that we would not manage like this. We do not manage like this at MiraCosta. If we don't see it, we don't spend it. And even when we are promised it, there's a real large chance that we won't be able to actually spend it. And so 50% of the money, 59% of the money that we lost was directly supposed to support instructional equipment and deferred maintenance. And that money got pulled in the last month of the semester. So I just want to tell you how volatile things sort of are. 2 years ago, the state legislature and the governor made an incredible promise to affordable housing. So they said, we're going to build affordable housing on college and university campuses, and we're going to put $1.1 billion behind it. 2 years later, there's no money there. There is only, you can take out a loan and build it on your campus if you want. We've always had that ability to do that. So the commitment and the heart is there. It's just that the support and the infrastructure are not there, and that makes it really a very volatile time. On top of that, we have a relatively new and somewhat inexperienced state chancellor who is the first woman to hold that job permanently. So that's Sonia Christian, who is our new state chancellor, but she's having to navigate 19 fights all at once. And I think she's still learning how to do the fight with the legislature, or maybe I'll call it the dance with the legislature around what they want us to do without the sense of what it takes to do that. So there's a lot of legislative mandates that are coming down, and we'll talk about some of that in the sort of uncharted waters. I don't even want to get us started on the level of, I want to say micromanagement, about what our courses will be numbered. Who will transfer what to what university? What will we be teaching? Is language a requirement? And this is coming from people, we have one legislator who just believes there should be zero online learning happening, ever. And so, I don't want to be disrespectful. These are people who are elected by their communities. On the other hand, I'm not sure we all understand what it takes to get a student from where they start college to where they're ready for the world of work, the world of transfer. And so lots of stuff that will be happening that we'll have to navigate. For the college itself, we sit in a backdrop of a lot of economic uncertainty. We have heard in California about bank failures. We have heard about the demand for access, excellence, and outcomes when it comes to higher education, and yet a really volatile backdrop against which we operate. So ready for some good news? We are up for the first time in a long time in enrollment. So I think our head count, Danae, is up about 8.5% overall across the college, and FTE is up about 11.5%, 12%. So we haven't seen those double digits in a number of years, so we are glad to welcome more students. The other thing that is a big, is we did submit our comprehensive accreditation report, thanks to so many of you that worked really hard to make sure that we were documenting the things that we could show as evidence. We submitted that report in December. They reviewed our report, our evidence, all of that, and they decided, the peer team decided that we meet all the standards. So they have no core inquiries. They are going to send a team of 3 people plus a representative from ACCJC, so a very mini visit. It'll be just 1 day long, September 18th, and it will be more of a formality, we expect. There will be an opportunity for an open forum if people in the community or the college want to share anything related to accreditation with the team, and there will be an exit report, and you would all be invited to those 2 events. So more coming on that 1 day. So just know that there will be a small team here on September 18th to sort of finalize that whole accreditation process, and then we will hear in January. We expect that we will have our full accreditation given to us. So we're hopeful, and for good reason. We've done the work and worked together to get all that done. So, uncharted waters, we talked about the instability in the economy. Frank mentioned, there are just businesses that are working more and more remotely. We're doing some of that as well. So there's less demand for commercial real estate. You see that most acutely in San Francisco, cities like San Francisco, where the value of commercial real estate pre-COVID was enormous. The value now, not so much. And that certainly is happening in San Diego. It's happening in every city. You can look at large malls and see that there's just not as much demand for the kind of physical space that used to be demanded before COVID. And so the value of that, when that diminishes, has a lot to do with our tax values. So about 12% of our tax base at MiraCosta College, which is what we generate revenue from, is commercial real estate. So while housing may have gone up, people aren't moving around as much as they used to because they can't afford to buy the next home, right? So while housing may be going up, the valuation doesn't occur until a house exchanges hands. And then also the commercial real estate property declining is going to have an impact on us, and we don't know what that is. So we again, as Frank said, plan as prudently as we can. There are certainly projections. Has anybody heard the projection that all of our jobs will be outsourced? And by that I mean automated to AI. All of them. By what year? Anybody remember that? We've heard a lot of projections. About 20 to 25 years, right? So there's all kinds of projections that you have to just be mindful of. Do I believe that will happen? No. But I do believe that the world of work and learning is looking incredibly different, right? The world of just communicating is looking incredibly different. And so that is in the backdrop of the context of people wondering, what is the value of higher education? How many years have we been hearing that question? What is the value of higher education? I think in community college, we're a little more immune to that because we are closer to our communities. We serve the people within our communities. We have very relevant relationships with humans, with leaders, with electeds, with businesses, and those that are in our community. But nevertheless, that value is being questioned. And yet we know more than ever, we need people with a higher level of knowledge and skills and ability to critically think their way through what will become a more and more highly synthesized world. right? So we are going to be critical in that equation of what is the value of higher education. And I have to say that we stand head and shoulders above some of the institutions that really haven't served their community, served their purpose in ways that I think we hold ourselves accountable to every day. So this image of a cliff and inequity reminds me that the wealth gap in this country was exaggerated through COVID. We now have 1% of the population, the wealthiest 1%, own 50% of all the wealth in the country. 10% of the population owns 70% of the wealth. Okay, so 1% owns 50% of the wealth, 10% owns 70% of the wealth. So the 90% of us, how much are we struggling to share? Sean, what's left if you own 70%? Come on, Sean. Zika? 30%. So the rest of the 90% are struggling to share the 30% of what is left. And that has been exacerbated by COVID. On top of that, you know, we have huge political divides. All of a sudden it went away. Huge political divides, huge philosophical divides, huge religious divides. We don't even have as many friends as we used to have because we can't connect over social media. We certainly cannot connect over dinner in the meaningful kinds of ways that we used to connect, right? So this sign of divide, and yet our mission, our vision has not changed in that time frame. We are here to serve all those in our community that want to strive for a better education and a better future. And these are not just headlines to our students, our families, these are the lived realities that they come to us with. These are this is what impacts our community and the inequity that we see in it. And so it's more important than ever that we look further ahead. We look further than this year and next year. We look further ahead at the signals that we're seeing so that we can help prepare our students and help them navigate this really complex and ever-changing higher ed system as best they can to achieve their dreams. If we do nothing differently, what we can ensure is that there will be greater inequity and greater difference. There will be, if we do nothing, if we just keep doing what we're doing like we've always done it, and hope that things will work out for the best, we are certain there will be more opportunity inequality, educational inequality, just inequity in general, and that the students that we prepare for tomorrow are not going to have a chance to set themselves apart and to have the life that they want. So we're going to have to look at things differently and look at what we're doing differently. It's often been said that the one constant in life is change. But we've never seen a rate of change like this, right? The pace and the rate of change is accelerating. Today is the slowest it will ever be. It will only get faster. And for those of us that feel like we are running on a hamster wheel, I think many of us are exhausted by it. Exhausted by the thinking about it, exhausted by the doing, and feeling like the pace of change, the accelerating pace of change is outpacing us. And this is a huge part of why we have invested over the last 4 years in developing a futures mindset, because we can't just wait and see what comes to us. We have to have, in higher ed, we have to have a longer ramp in which to deal with what is coming, plan, and work at different scenarios. So let me talk for a minute about artificial intelligence. This is a technology, the phraseology has been around for decades. But what you're seeing is convergences of technologies that are exponentially moving us in leaps and bounds faster than any one technology alone. So well over a decade ago, the combination of cell phone technology, GPS technology, cloud computing did what to the way we transport ourselves? You never have to talk to anybody again. You can hail a cab without ever raising your arm, right? You can get in an Uber and a Lyft with a stranger, which our parents always told us not to do. And you can say no words to them and end up where you want to go. And so those convergences of technology are hugely moving us forward in ways that any one technology could not. Artificial intelligence and that kind of machine learning that will allow us to analyze genetic information and protein sequence information will move us leaps and bounds ahead in personalized medicine. We will live longer and healthier lives. And while that sounds amazing, especially when you hit a major birthday like I just did, it's not good. It's not good because we have declining birth rates, and yet we're going to live longer. And at some point, we'd like to stop working. But there aren't going to be enough people behind us, right, to continue to provide for us in the way that we had hoped and planned. So we have to be mindful of all those demographic shifts and know in 10 years, who will our students be? Who will be in these classrooms? Because it's not going to be who was here 10 and 15 years ago. And so I think that's the exciting thing. It's scary, right? I know some of us are really nervous about what AI is going to mean for scholarly work and ownership of work. I also think there's some really exciting frontiers that we don't even know yet how artificial intelligence and machine learning and blockchain are going to converge together to change our world, the world of work, the world of learning. And I have to say, I've been dabbling in AI for communication, like trying to figure out how can we communicate better and easier. I have been using in personal AI. So this is an amazing thing. If you haven't tried it, it's pi.ai. It lets me vent. It listens to me, doesn't judge. It brainstorms with me, gives me ideas. And I'm very careful. Like, I'm not giving it a lot of personal information. John, I don't mention your name at all when I'm venting. But I have to say, there are some remarkable tools, and people are they're experimenting with AI. When we can't get to see a therapist, is there a way that somebody could be helped with automation, right? There's long wait lists for all kinds of services. So I have to say, I am simultaneously excited about the opportunity and a little leery. And I want to make sure that I'm not contributing to the kinds of false images, the derogatory images that are made up and have no truth to them, right? I want to make sure we're not contributing to that world. We have to teach students how to, and we teach ourselves, how to tell truth from misinformation, how to tell garbage from knowledge. That's our challenge. And I don't think any of us thought 10 years ago or 5 years ago when we started in the teaching ranks that we'd be doing this, right? We thought we would just be transferring the love of our discipline to students and getting them excited about it. It's a whole new world. And I think the challenge for us is that we need to continue to create the world that we seek for our students and our children and our grandchildren and our community members to live in. And that is that we need to think boldly and very differently about what we do in the classroom, outside the classroom, so that when our students come here and they step onto MiraCosta, that they aren't just entering college, they are stepping into a promise that here their dreams really matter, that here we will help them get from where they are to where they aspire to be, whether that be a degree, a certificate, a job, transfer to a university, or to be an entrepreneur and change the world. That's what our promise is to them. We will have to shift how we think and behave in order to deliver on that promise. So you'll see us talking a lot about what can we change, how can we change together. We're going to talk about classrooms and labs and how do we design them for the future, not just this moment's needs, but for the future. And how do we as professionals continue to grow and learn in a world that demands that we learn faster than we ever thought we would learn? And how do we translate that knowledge into ways that benefit our students and our communities? And how do we continue to engage students in their learning and take ownership of their learning as they move forward, no matter what background, discipline, race, socioeconomic place that they come from, that they come here and there's a promise to them. So I started with a lot of disruption, a lot of not good news, a little bit of good news, but I am incredibly optimistic because this is a place where we work intentionally and proactively together. If we can continue to trust and collaborate and develop and work together and innovate, I don't think there's anything we can't do together. And I think the more we can talk about what scares us, what excites us, and what we're really looking forward to, so that we can help our students navigate all those same emotions. I don't think there's any problem we can't solve together. So let me conclude by saying once again, thank you. Thank you for all that you do to our students. Thank you for, did I say to our students? For our students. Thank you for all you do for our students and our community each and every day. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for showing up every day and doing your very best. And at this point, it's my honor to turn it over to our governance leaders. So please help me welcome to the stage for the first time MiraCosta alum and our classified Senate President, Omar Jimenez.
Morning, everyone. I'll make this quick. So one of the biggest things that we have changed within Classified Senate, and you should have gotten emails, please connect with me if you haven't, is our new constituent model. It works. So our new model, we really wanted to focus on how to better connect Senate with constituents and the full chain of command. So one of the ways we addressed it was let's start adapting ourselves to how we divide classified folks, which is by division. So as you know, in the email, we focused on every division will now have 2 dedicated senators within Senate. We also heard that within our multi-campus system, especially folks in San Alejo, at the CLC, TCI, sometimes it's difficult to connect with Senate. So we dedicated 2 senators with this model that we're calling our multi-campus model. So for those of you that are within these sites, you will now have 2 dedicated senators or the option of going through the senators that represent your division. The other thing we wanted to focus on is making sure folks knew their senators and making that process simpler. So now and anyone within your department, within your division, you all now have the same senator or the same options of senators. So that way when you're onboarding folks, you already know who those senators are. So the team that will be implementing this, right there. So we have our executive team. We have Ingrid Phillips, our vice president, Jennifer Striegler, secretary, and Marlisha Keys, treasurer. And I also want to give a special thanks to our advisory team who have such a wealth of knowledge, and they do such a wonderful effort on making sure the president has all the tools to serve our classified folks. So thank you to Vanessa Di Benedetto, Lori Snyder, and Carl Banks for being our advisors. And now for the senator team that will be executing this new constituent model. So our senator for instruction, Sarah Carpenter and Shannon Tuesi. Our senators for student services, Brian Astorga and Chelsea Shavira Verdin. Our senators for administrative services, Kate Scafie and Gina Hansen. And the new multi-campus senators, Susan Corley and Angelina Bowles. And that is your classified Senate team for this year. And one of the things that we also met about during our retreat was what areas we wanted to focus on this year. So again, part of the constituent model was the focus on communication. We wanted to make sure that our Senate team had clear lines of communication with all constituents and all partners across the campus. The other thing is engagement. So you're gonna see us putting out a lot of events, but also talking about what we can do better, what type of events you all would like to see, and how we can connect better as a campus. Third is professional learning and personal growth, so aligning ourselves with a lot of the initiatives that the college is doing around professional learning. I wanted to go over the purpose of Senate. So MiraCosta Classified Senate represents the interests, issues, and concerns of all classified professionals, including confidential folks. Classified Senate officially represents all classified professionals, classified, or exception of confidential classified employees, and matters relating to working conditions, compensation, agreements through the collegial meet and confer process. I want you all to think of Senate. We are here as a resource, as a guide. Again, advisors have decades of experience that they pass down through Senate to make sure that we have the tools to serve all classified professionals. Whether it comes, if you have questions about your pay, if you have questions about relationships within your working environment, reach out to your senators, reach out to me, reach out to anyone on our team. We are a tool, we are a resource, we are a guide. I believe, yes, so I wanted to end this with an announcement that you all may have heard. I received the permanent position with Student Equity, pending board approval. Unfortunately, that means I will be serving a probationary period for 6 months, but I want to give a special thank you to Carl Banks. The leadership team and myself reached out and pleaded with Carl to see if he could take over, and he accepted. So thank you, Carl. I know he's watching streaming, but yes. So Carl Banks will be leading Senate for the next 6 months, pending passing probation, and hopefully I will see you all in March. All right, folks, that's it for me. I'd like to introduce our Academic Senate President, Professor Leila Safaralian.
Many congratulations to Omar in his new role, and we are looking forward to working with Omar and Carl for many, many years. Good morning and welcome, everyone. I'm Leila Safaralian, the Academic Senate President and Chair of Mathematics Department, and I welcome you all to Fall 2023. I was given 7.5 minutes to talk about teaching and learning, and some update from the Academic Senate. Is that possible? No. So I thought about it, and I came up with 2 ideas. The first one was to change 7.5 minutes to seconds, so I can boost my self-confidence that I have 450 seconds to talk about teaching and learning. The second thing was to write down. I started to write down, and as a math teacher, we don't write much, we bullet points. My friend Stacy Hall and I, we always walk around with a page of all bullet points in our hands. So I started bullet pointing all these programs, initiatives, legislation, everything, all faculty efforts, and I ran out of paper. It's not possible to capture everything on one piece of paper. So I looked for the biggest and longest piece of paper I could find, and here we go. this is just a very small fraction of what all faculty do. So many thanks to all faculty and everyone across the campus. We see you, we see your hard work, and we value and appreciate everything you do on behalf of our students. Thank you, everyone. Here are amazing new academic senate team. We had a great opportunity to meet last Friday, August 11, for a regular meeting followed by our retreat. We had great conversation, discussions about our next year goal, and they are ready to serve all faculty in academic and professional matters. We welcome them all. Here are new and returning senators: Professor Erica Duran, Rachel Hastings, Nate Scharf, Alexis Tucker-Sade, and Julie Garboy are new senators. To the Senate, we welcome all new and returning senators. And you see a QR code. If you scan that, then you can get to our Academic Senate webpage with all the information and everything that we do on behalf of teaching and learning. Here are 4 amazing new full-time faculty. So if you are here, please stand up so we can recognize you. Kyle Ariola, Eduardo Mariscal, Amena Coronado, Israel Pastrana, Jenna Magalanesa. On behalf of all faculty at MiraCosta, I welcome you and wish you many amazing opportunities and experiences here at MiraCosta. Welcome to MiraCosta. Here are 9 subcommittees of the Academic Senate. We have some new leaders. I would like to welcome Dr. Teresa Bolaños and Scott Falstrom, who are the new chair. I think the slide just went off. The new co-chairs of the courses and programs are amazing. Suchi Eggleton, the new chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Cultural Competency Committee. We welcome them all, and we are looking forward to working with them and collaborating for many years. I also want to thank you, our amazing Erin Roberts, chair of PDP, and our amazing Debbie Adler, who worked tirelessly this summer to make sure they put together a very comprehensive series of workshops for us, and many of us attended and we took advantage of them. Thank you so much. And also, Suchi and her team, who put together the 12 Cultural Competency Conference yesterday. I saw many of you there. Thank you so much, Suchi and her team. And thanks to Dr. Luke Lara for his amazing informative session. Okay, teaching and learning. Teaching and learning has been the focus of the Senate past year, and this year, as we had our retreat and we had the discussion about choosing our goals, we all agreed that teaching and learning, it should be the center of our focus and one of our goals this year as well. So I'm glad to report that C3 is up and running. You have received some interesting emails from Jim Sullivan, who I'm sure he's somewhere in the crowd, the new joyful teacher in residence. If you scan the QR code, again, you can go to the C3 website with the great information provided for you. Also, Jim Sullivan was very busy this summer making sure that he can put together support for all faculty who are going to teach HighFlex this fall. So many thanks to Jim Sullivan for everything that he does to celebrate, cultivate, and connect our work towards effective teaching and learning. Thank you. So under teaching and learning, I'm glad to report that the Cultural Curriculum Collective has been rebranded as Juntos Podemos, and they have partnered with the Title V and HSI grant. They are open to full-time faculty and associate faculty who want to contribute to the individual and departmental equity goals. They had 25 spots open, and as Nate just informed me, all 25 seats are filled, but don't be disappointed. Please scan the QR code, and you can ask Nate and his team about the future sessions they are going to have, or maybe they can start the wait list. So I want to say thank you to Jabi, Sugania, Nate, and Carlos for their amazing program they have put together. It continues to impact our teaching and learning. Many of us have learned articles. We've been to many sessions discussing teaching, learning, and how it has been impacted by AI. I really encourage all department and discipline to have their own conversation about AI and how they, with everything that they can do to share more information with the department. And that's very critical to have that conversation within every department. A Canvas page has been created, and they have collected resources from everywhere to make sure we are sharing information as much as we can with all faculty. So if you scan the QR code, it takes you to the Canvas page that we have created for the AI. I want to say a heartfelt thank you to Sean Davis, Corey Mitchell, Jim Julius, Jim Sullivan, Robert Kelly, Rick White, and many more faculty who have contributed to these resources. And finally, updates on calendar. So academic calendar has been the center of discussion at MiraCosta College for many years. So first, I want to be thankful and acknowledge the work of everyone and their contribution to academic calendar work. I'm glad to report that we have a new calendar task force that they will start beginning of the fall under the leadership of Corey Mitchell, the Academic Senate President-elect. And the task force members are selected from the Academic Senate, Faculty Assembly, MiraCosta College Academic Associate Faculty, classified professionals, students, and admin leaders. The task force will meet twice monthly, and they are going to be engaged in a comprehensive review and research of academic calendar policies and models. In the fall, a district-wide survey of shared values and potential impact will be delivered and reviewed. In spring, 3 or 4 calendar options will be presented for discussion and feedback in district-wide webinars. The task force will recommend 1 calendar option to the district that should be adopted at the end of spring 2024. So if you can scan the QR code, you can get to the page for the calendar project and you can read more about it. Please look for more information coming from Corey Mitchell. And with that, on behalf of all faculty at MiraCosta, I wish you a very productive fall semester full of great learning experiences. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so we are going to be quick about the work that we're doing. We don't have any QR codes, but we do have websites where you can find more information because we're old school. Thank you, Layla, for setting the bar high. So, and I don't have a Baby Yoda either, but I'd love to have one. We are here to tell you a little bit about facilities. So when you walk around this campus, you know there is nothing that really isn't cordoned off by a fence. But we are nearing the end of the $455 million bond that we passed in 2016. So we want to give you a little context of what was, what is, and what is yet to come. And so Tim and I are going to play a little bit of tag team to just tell you a little bit about the culture of the San Diego region and bond passing, because the only way that you can do significant facilities work is through your community supporting these bonds. The state is not going to give you enough money, and when they do give you the money, they're likely to take it back. So that is the first couple of bullets. And then we're going to talk a little bit about challenges that we faced since. projects that are underway and to be completed. We're going to talk about how cost escalation has gone up and so forth, and we'll try to do this in as painless a way as possible, but we want to be very transparent about what we've been able to accomplish and what we haven't, and what are the things we're having to kind of wrestle with. So this slide, I'm going to try to take this and walk over here. This slide shows you a little bit about the general obligation bonds that have been passed by multiple districts. So you see MiraCosta at the top, San Diego Community College District, Grossmont, Cuyamaca, Palomar, Southwestern, and Imperial Valley. There is a date of 2002 that is listed on the left-hand side of the screen. For MiraCosta, that could go out another 50 years, and it doesn't matter. The first bond that we ever passed was in 2016. We had not had one for 50 years before that time. With those of you that were here in 2012, you know that the district tried to pass a bond in 2012. It heartbreakingly failed to pass by 1 vote per precinct. So this is not an easy district in which to pass a bond. And I want to show you that San Diego's had 2 bonds in that time frame, $1.6 billion in those 2 combined bonds. Grossmont, Cuyamaca also had 2 bonds that they've passed in that time frame. Palomar has had 1. Every one of these districts is getting ready to go out for another bond in 2024. They are doing the studies for that and so forth. I will just tell you that this is a very conservative community in which we live. The board has certainly wrestled with going out for another bond, as all these districts will do, and you want to do that in a presidential race. It's very hard to explain why the utilization at San Alejo is the way that it is, and we need you to support more facilities. It's very hard to explain that 50% of our students are still studying online, and we need you to support our facilities. It's not about new buildings for us. It's about renovating very old and aged buildings. But what I want to show you is there are districts where it is easier to pass a bond, and every time they go out, they are successful. That is not the district that we serve and live and work in. And so just wanted to be really transparent about how hard it was. I want to thank the Associate Faculty Union. Were the first in 2015 to put into a bond campaign. They donated money to that campaign. The Faculty Assembly, Christina Sharp and her whole team of people organized canvassing where we were all out volunteering on the weekends, leafleting. I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking. It was an all-out massive effort by all of us. The foundation put in money to the campaign not once but twice because they knew it was an investment in the future of our district and our students. So what I want to tell you is that it's been a really rough road to pass that bond. We could not have done it had it not been for all of us working together to do that. And we were very fortunate. I think that passage rate was 62.4%, which you need to be at 55%. So we had a decisive victory. But it's not something to be taken lightly, and we need to really make a good case for why our community would support again. And our board feels like this is not the time. We can't make a good case right now for why we need your money to support us, given that we're still teaching about 50% online. So I hope that's kind of the context of it. We'll give you a lot of information. Frank alluded to some of these things. Tim and I have worked together for a lot of years, and we've built on college campuses. We've never built in conditions like this, where you have to monitor construction workers for COVID and shut down the site if somebody's got. That was prior to vaccine and treatments and so forth. We built through all of that. We built through supply chain issues where you couldn't get steel. We've worked with our board to say, hey, let us have the authority to award a contract, because if we wait a month to bring it to the board, the cost just goes up. We can't even wait a month to get a contract out and lock down the pricing. Allow us to buy steel for a project that hasn't even been bid yet, because we want to lock in the price of steel. That's the kind of stuff that's been happening behind the scenes, thanks to Kitchell and Tim and the finance team and the purchasing team, all of that. So we've worked under incredible conditions, and we really haven't had any work stoppages on our campus. We really have been quite fortunate to be where we are and finish the buildings that we're finishing under the conditions. And so we will send you all of these slides so you don't have to, make sure that you're taking any, notes or that it's somehow you won't have access to this. This is a very complicated chart. There's some lines down at the bottom, but the whole chart is to show you overall market escalation in construction. I just want you to focus on the green, the blue, and the yellow right now. Those are the last 3 years. Yellow is 2021, blue is 2022, green is 2023, and we're only, partway through 2023. The funny thing about this chart is you see that it starts at 0 every January, and it goes up and goes up and goes up. What this chart doesn't tell you is that when you get to the end of, for example, that blue line in 2022 December, it resets back to 0, even though it's not 0. So you have to add up the high points of those last 3 years, the yellow, the blue, and you're adding. There simply is no chart that you could keep adding and adding. So it's like 30% escalation just over the last 2.5 years. So it's a funky chart, but that just shows you what has happened over the last 2.5 years. Normally, cost escalation is what, 5% per year?
3 to 4, yeah.
3 to 4% per year, but we've seen 30% in cost for construction go up. And so I'm done with slides. Now, Tim's going to take over for a little bit, and we will, again, you'll have the slides.
So this is just kind of to walk you through. So I'm not going to be a Derek Downer. We're going to start with some information and then tell you how we're going to overcome. So that's what we do at MiraCosta. We look at the problems, we work through the data, and then we work to find ways to overcome. So some of the additional challenges beyond what we've got as you're taking a look, remember that our facilities master plan, what the data was pulled 14, 15, so that it was approved in 16. A lot has changed. Just think what you were doing as far as in your classroom back in 15, 16 compared to what you're doing in your classrooms now, right? And the same thing is what were you doing if you're a classified employee? What were you doing in facilities and all that? So things have changed, demands have changed, students' needs have changed, and we've reacted to those changes, right? And so some of the things that weren't originally in the master plan, additional mental health capacity office space, additional food pantry space, all the additional support services that we are adding to help our students survive and thrive weren't really thought of back in 15, 16. So we're having to add those spaces. We've also uncovered a lot of unforeseen issues. Back in 15, once again, data from 15, it's 23 years. 23 now, so you're looking at another 8 years. So we've gone through 8 more years of infrastructure degradation and use. And also, we're starting to get into the buildings now. So we're starting to tear off the drywall, right? We're starting to remodel things, and we're finding the big uglies underneath some of that drywall. It's like, wow, well, that doesn't meet code anymore. We're going to have to do something about that. And then it gets to what Frank had talked about, in that some of the code requirements that passed when these things were built in the 60s and 70s won't pass muster now, and so we're having to upgrade. And in some cases, with DSA, if you get to that 50% mark, where the upgrade is 50% of a new, you have to fully retrofit that for seismic. And so that means going into footings, going into structure, going into everything that would upgrade that building. So a lot of infrastructure and additional things that we're finding. As we started to get in the buildings, we had about 25% of our budget dedicated to modernization. And then we had, 40% that was to renovation. When we started actually going into the buildings and seeing the condition, no more modernization. Everything was a renovation. Everything had to be gutted and redone. And so that has a cost impact. And so we were working through that as we continue to go through. Frank also alluded to some of the DSA challenges that we've had. So as codes get upgraded, as we start going into, they start going into path of travel, how are we going to make accessibility requirements, how are we going to make sure that our structures are safe. As those get upgraded, those costs also go up. And in one instance, we were going to do kind of the 3,000 buildings, so kind of remodel all the 3,000 buildings, kind of the, as student services moves, we're going to go upgrade those and turn them into classrooms, and then our social justice and equity center. We weren't going to we were just going to touch building 3100, just to get to the infrastructure. Well, because we touched that building, and because of the condition of that building, DSA said, you're going to have to fully seismically retrofit that building. Well, at that point, we really didn't have a budget because we were just going to go up. It now is we're tearing that building down and going to rebuild it. So it's about a $16 million swing that we had not anticipated. But there's also a silver lining to that. By tearing down those buildings, we're going to be able to create a beautiful hub space and a really welcoming, smaller quad area that's going to go out and flow out from our social justice and equity centers and really create a small, like, microcosm classroom that's going to allow us to build the rooms and the offices the way we want to, instead of being constrained by the existing walls. So it does offer a silver lining, but there are issues that we're going through. And then, of course, the cost of equipment. We've all seen, we talked about escalation. Equipment costs, supply chain issues, all that are driving costs. So I said, that's kind of the Debbie Downer. Now we're going to get to the wonderful news. I hope that you all have had the opportunity to drive and go to the Community Learning Center and see what that has transformed into. It used to be a strip mall behind the Arby's. Remember that? And now it's a wonderful multi-building complex that has a quad, that has some social gathering area. It looks and is a fully functioning college campus. The same thing with San Alejo. We've got wonderful facilities and upgrades that happened at the San Alejo. You look at the lab spaces that were embarrassing, quite frankly. They were truly embarrassing. I felt bad when I walked in there and said, wow, and faculty are using this to teach. So, we really are working to go through that. You'll also notice on this slide, there's a couple of projects that say phase 1. Oh, no, actually it is this slide. That was recommendations where we knew we were starting to run out of money, that we were going to have to make some value choices. So as you look at, one's a parking lot project and one is a quad project, we said we need to downsize those and use that money to invest in our classroom and student support. We can wait to do landscaping. We can wait to upgrade parking lots. But we need to make sure that our classrooms and our support spaces, as much as possible, we can put those investments in. So that was a recommendation from Budget and Planning Committee. And so we went through and worked through that, and the campuses understood. It was painful. We were done really planning the quad. But at the end, everybody understood that was a priority. We really needed to address our priorities. At the Oceanside campus, we are in full construction impact. You cannot walk across the campus without running into a construction fence somewhere. So I apologize. We're trying to work through it. We're even working with SAS to provide a cart to help our students with mobility issues be able to navigate the campus. So we're continuing to work through that. But a tremendous amount of work is being done. And thanks to the faculty, the staff, the administrators, I feel sorry for my colleagues. I'm always tasking them, okay, we need to get another group together to talk about a classroom or office space. Everybody is working hard to design the buildings that we need now and in the future. So how are we going to do it? Remember, I'm an accountant, so I'm going to throw up spreadsheets. I'm not expecting any of you to study them or go through. Just know that as we're going through, every year we upgrade our 5-year facilities plan, so our 5-year capital construction plan. It's required by the state. That way they can plan what we're going to be doing over the next 5 years and plan their business processes. That's the time in which we take a look at budgets. We update our budgets based off of current data. We also roll on future projects, so projects that will be in the planning or construction phases over the next 5 years. So you can see at Community Learning Center, pretty much done with that. We've almost done that entire campus. We're going to be adding a solar project up to that campus. As we look at San Alejo, pretty much the same thing, pretty much done, went through the entire campus. We're going to be adding a path of travel, which will take us kind of from the center of the campus over to Manchester Drive. It's a DSA required sidewalk. Not sure where it's going to go. There's really nothing from that sidewalk across. But, they said if we're going to continue to build, we have to do that. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then we've got a solar panel project that's also going there as well. And then on the Oceanside campus, you can see it going through, still in construction. You see that big $15.9 million hit that we took overall. And then we've got some projects that are going to continue going on, including some professional development, so remodeling the 4700 building once those services move out of that building. And then we've got a bridge repair. There's another project that nobody had anticipated, but we have a bridge that goes from the parking lot 5 across to student services. Well, the stairs and the bridge is starting to be undermined, and so we're going to have to rebuild that. So that's why you see that staircase closed off right now. And then we've got a solar project once again, and then the building 4500. So really taking a look at what our priority projects are and how we move from there. So at the end of that process, we know $455 million is what we have in the bond, right? I can't expand that. We were successful in gaining almost $7 million worth of state and federal dollars. And so that puts $86 million, a little over $86 million, in our need as far as what we need to be able to finance all those district priorities. So fortunately, we've already spent about 3.3, we've already saved and expended 3.3, so that takes it down to a little over 83 million. We've, over the course of the last 4 years, have saved up over $30 million. We've saved our ending balance amounts knowing that this is going to happen, and we've been setting aside money to allow us to continue to move forward in progress and to be able to upgrade the facilities for our students, our faculty, and staff. We've got about $7 million in interest right now. So overall, that 83 million, that 86 million, turned down to 46 million. And so we're looking at how we're going to go ahead and finance that. What do we need to do? And I want to emphasize why it's important that we do this. The 4500 Science Lab, our solar power projects, and our signage are really going to be looking at how are kind of the projects that fit within that kind of 50 million, we'll call it $50 million shortfall. Well, you all know that in April, they said, hurry up and get your solar in before April 15th because the laws are going to change and it's not, the rebates are not going to be as well and you're not going to get the same amount of buyback. So we got our interconnects in. So we've got those applications in. Also, we know that the Inflation Reduction Act should help supply 30 to 40% rebate on these projects if we're able to do that. That's a tremendous amount of money when you're looking at a $16 million project, being able to get 30 to 40% back from the federal government. So it's a wise investment. It also reduces our expenditures on an annual basis. So we're putting money in, but we're saving money at the same time. The other one is the 4500 lab building. So this is the labs that students are coming from our high schools. These are our high school science labs. So we got pictures from various high schools where they're coming from. Here's a picture of our 4500 labs. We never want to be in a state where our high school students are coming to us and experiencing a less than adequate environment, right? We want them to come to us, be excited about the career and what they're going through. This doesn't create excitement. This creates, I'm not really feeling special here. I'm not feeling like I'm being taken care of. So it's really important, and the infrastructure in this building is crumbling, and Tom could tell you horror stories, and so could the lab techs of what's going on in those buildings. Now, we had the wonderful news, we've got some great progress moving forward. Here's the reality of some of the projects that we're not going to have funding for, based off whatever. These are in our facilities master plan. We don't have funding for these at this time, and kind of moving forward from there. It doesn't mean that we won't. I'm not saying that these are never going to be done. It means that we're going to have to find creative ways, be bold, and go forward knowing that we're going to have to save money and work in processes for us to be able to do that. It's really hard when the state gives you money and you think, okay, I'm going to be able to start doing this, and then the state takes it back after you've had plans going. So it's kind of that yo-yo cycle, but we want to be transparent in what we have the ability to do. As we go forward, there's some things that we have in our control, things that we don't have control over, and things that we have moderate control over. We don't have any control over any regulatory requirements, state changes, city or otherwise, utilities, any of those types of things. We do have control over our programs and initiatives. How are we going to build, construct, remodel, to be flexible in our processes. And things we have lots of control over is how we manage things, our timelines. Time is money. I really want to thank the faculty and the classified staff and administrators who've helped us continue to move the 3,000 remodel project through. We continue to meet over the summer because we know how important it is to get this out into bid. So those are the types of things that we're going to have to manage and just really trying to work forward. As Frank and Sonny had talked about, we talked about kind of how we're going to have funding, how we're going to move forward with funding. You know, we talked about, is there a possibility of GEO-bond? Don't think that there is a support there. Just really think that with all the things there and the economy going right now is not a good time. The other option was just stop work and just say, okay, we're out of money. You know, good luck and go with you. No, we can't do that. We have to move forward. We have to continue to progress forward. So what are we doing? We're recommending going forward and borrowing the funds. Borrowing the $50 million, knowing that there's going to be an annual cost. Annual cost is about $3 million a year. We've been setting aside more than that each year in savings. So what this is going to do, basically, instead of saving up till we get to $30 million, knowing that every year you're going to have escalation, we're going to borrow the money and use and front load, basically, take out a mortgage, buy the house, buy the buildings, and then pay off on those. So that is the plan. You know, and once again, bonds can be paid off in multiple ways, whether it's operational costs, whether later on we go out for a general obligation bond if we can show the need and the public would be supportive. We've done that before. This last bond paid off a lease revenue bond. So I just kind of look at this as bridge financing as we go through and continue to move forward. So we've made recommendations to our Board of Trustees regarding lease revenue bond, certificate of participation. And so we're going to be going for that and working through those financing. The authorization will go to recommendation for an authorization goes to the September board. And so we'll continue to work on there. Know that we will continue to work for creative ways, continue to apply for federal and state funds wherever we can, and continue to work with you all so that we can continue to move our facilities forward so that we can provide the best educational atmosphere for our students and the best working environment for you all as well. So with that, just to know that there's links if you want a continual update. We have links both at our ICBOC, which is our Independent Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. They get financial project updates every other month. We also have it on our Measure MM webpage. So with that,
can I just interrupt? So can you go back 2 slides? I just want you to know that the options that our trustees considered, we cannot take out a general obligation bond without the voters authorizing it, right? We don't have the authority to do that. What we do have the authority to do is borrow money, putting up buildings as collateral, and then paying that debt off, right? So we have the ability to decide to do one thing. We don't have the ability, without the taxpayer support, to do the general obligation bond. I also want to say that our foundation is very busy working with people who can donate to our facilities in the form of naming rights, so that we are working with donors that might be interested in supporting a lab building, a biotech or a health or a wellness or a science building. So we're working to bring in all the revenue we can from the private funds, our own funds, the state funds, and then having to borrow if we need to do that. So just wanted to wrap that up by saying everybody, including our foundation, is looking for ways to fund this gap. And with that, Tim, I think, showed you where you can find more of these resources. And we will both get off the stage and turn it over to our Chief Idea Officer, Dr. Wendy Stewart. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Good morning. Buenos dias, sawubona. Like Tim and Sunny were saying, my name is Wendy. I am the Interim Chief Idea Officer. I get a lot of questions when I'm outside of MiraCosta and people say, that is the coolest job title possible. Do people just come to you with innovative ideas and you just implement them? And so I explained that IDEA is an acronym for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility. And I'm excited this morning to be able to provide just a few updates on what is happening in IDEA,
some opportunities for folks to get engaged in the work if you're not already doing so on campus, as well as some updates on what's new in the Office of IDEA. And just a reminder that my role works across the campus. So I am not necessarily housed in one specific division, but the great thing about this position is it's poised to work with different departments, with different divisions, with different individuals who are all engaged in IDEA work. So while I get the chance to be up here on stage, some of the updates that I'm giving, it's really reflecting a lot of hard work and effort of folks across the campus. So one of the things that I think is important for us to reflect upon is our IDEA journey. We've heard a lot of updates on what's happening across the campus in terms of our facilities and a lot of the state of the world that we're in right now. But I think it's important for us to reflect that we have come a long way. And so one way of thinking about how we have moved through our equity journey is thinking about how we've shifted from being a diversity-minded campus, where we were focusing on the diversity of our students, having cultural programming, doing different things to really respect the differences amongst us, but we've really moved to being more of an equity-minded campus, where we started to think about, well, if we disaggregate our data, what are we seeing happening with our students? How does that play into students who have experienced historical marginalization or minoritization, and taking a stance of institutional responsibility, that it's really our role to make sure that we're being the community and community college and providing a space for our students and intentionally closing equity gaps. So this next phase of the work that we're doing, I like to term as equity practicing. And so it's where we're taking that equity-minded shift and really putting into practice, trying to move the needle on closing equity gaps. And that when somebody's looking at MiraCosta from the outside, they can say, I can see that there is action that is taking place. I can see that resources are being allocated that are really focused on their work around IDEA. So a lot of the information I'm going to share will be up on the IDEA website, miracosta.edu/IDEA. I do not have a QR code, but you can just picture one right here. But if you go to that website, I know there's a lot of information I'm going to share. All of that will be updated on the website, so you don't have to take pictures or jot down, or if you're Gen X, or jot down notes. Okay. So part of being an equity practicing campus, and I know that our Board of Trustee President, Sunny, referenced this, is really being futures focused. And like Sunny was saying, we've been engaged in this for a couple of years. This summer, the IDEA group, including our student equity department, had a chance to really start to look at futures-focused concepts. And we did some really cool work thinking about what does the population of our students look like if we're going to go out 10 years, 15 years? What are some of the equity gaps that are going to persist? What are new equity gaps that we need to keep in mind? What are gaps that we're hoping are closed? We're talking about the advent of technologies and AI. What are the equitable implications of AI and some of the other things that we're seeing happening? And so we had a chance to think about what are the personas of our students of the future, and then look back and ask ourselves, are we future ready? Are we ready now? Are we doing things currently to prepare for the MiraCosta of the future? And what I think is important about this is a lot of times when we're looking at data, that data has already passed. So we just finished our student equity plan. The last year of that data was 2021, 2022. And we know that our students, we know that ourselves coming out of COVID, there's still a lot of change and impacts that we are still seeing. So sometimes we don't have the opportunity to be as future focused as we would like to be. And what I've shared here on the screen is a picture of a Sankofa bird. And Sankofa is a Chi word that means to retrieve, to reach back, to grab something that is from the past. And the team having gone to Ghana, it has new meaning in that it's an Adinkra symbol to remind us we can't be afraid to reach in our past as we are thinking about going forward. And so the bird's feet are facing in the future, but the bird is reaching past to grab an egg from the past. So for me, I call upon my ancestral roots in this work and really think about that's what it means to be futures focused to me. It means that we're having an opportunity to look at our past and think about who was MiraCosta of the past, who are we right now, and then who do we want to be? And there's a quote that I think really helped to frame this for me, which is, we're walking in futures that we didn't necessarily create. That is not exactly what it says on the slide, but I realize I've worn the wrong glasses, so we're going to paraphrase. So it says something to the extent of, we're walking in the futures, right, that we didn't necessarily create. And so we want to think about, what do we want MiraCosta to be in the future? What are some of the signals that we're seeing right now that will tell us, give us hints as to what that college is going to look like? The everyday experiences of our students. What is a classroom going to look like? Is that even going to have 4 walls? Is it going to be digital? Is it going to be virtual? We don't know. But there are hints that we can look at today that will help us to plan for that future. And so that's really what being equity practicing and future focused is about. One of the tools that folks can engage in to learn a little bit more about what it means to be future ready and future focused and some of the concepts is a Canvas course that I want to give a shout out to, I don't know if they're in the room, Luke Lara and Lauren McFall, who taught this course last year, Developing a Futures Mindset. It's a Canvas course, it's 4 weeks. It's a great opportunity for anybody, faculty, staff, our Board of Trustee members. I know we have a few trustees who are interested in taking the course, to enroll in this course for 4 weeks and learn some of the skills around being futures focused. And then I think some of the important pieces are not just what you learn, but how do I apply that? So what does it mean if I'm taking that back to my department? And how are we planning for, again, what that classroom might look like in the future, or that office, or that specific service? So the slides are out of order, but we're going to roll with it. We did something absolutely amazing this past summer in the world of IDEA, which is we raised the Intersex Inclusive Progress Pride flag at all 3 campuses across the district. And this was a truly historic moment. You can see the pictures of the flags. I want to give a shout out to our Sphere program that is led by Fran Bautista, to Nick Mortallone, who gave keynote. He was a keynote at all 3 campuses and gave words of wisdom as an administrator. We had an open mic where we heard from our community. Our North County LGBTQ Center came out to support. And then I gotta give a special shout out to a department that doesn't always get recognized, our facilities department. Because they make it happen. And this was a very fast turnaround. There is so much complexity to add a 3rd flag to a flagpole, a lot of elements in regards to wind impacts and how to raise flags. I learned more about flagpoles and flag raising than I ever have in my life. But I thank our facilities department for being so quick and nimble and recognizing that this was such an important event that we have happen in our district. And we're excited that this is the beginning of what hopefully will be an annual event as we recognize San Diego Pride Month and celebrate our LGBTQIA+ community. So opportunities to engage. So I want to highlight 3 specific opportunities. Last time that I was on stage, I had a chance to provide an update, and I think Danae also provided an update, that we had a group of faculty that got together in spring that helped to write a grant to the Chancellor's office for us to get a 3-year grant focused on implementing culturally relevant practices and pedagogy. So we got that grant, woohoo! And we will be launching that work this upcoming fall. This is, again, building upon the work that is already happening across the campus. Our Cultural Curriculum Collective did a great job of laying the foundation for this work, now called Juntos Podemos. And so what we will be doing is taking 30 faculty and having folks do a train the trainer model with USC's Equity Minding Teaching Institute this upcoming fall. The idea here is for us to really start to look at how we can engage and interrogate data, disaggregated data on the experiences of our students and outcomes in the classroom, and look at culturally relevant pedagogies and practices, dialogue around different strategies as a way to address how do we make change. So how do we, first of all, look at the data to see what's happening with our students, and then how do we identify a strategy to be able to shift to a more culturally relevant practice. So I'm excited to be the project director working with that grant, working collaboratively with a number of folks. And there will be opportunities as we build this. The idea is we're going to use the grant to build something that will be sustainable going forward. We also will be launching an idea advisory in fall, so I'm really excited about that. This advisory will be something that advises the chief idea officer, also looks at campus initiatives around idea. It is not an operational advisory, but an opportunity for us to make sure we're not working in silos. We know there is amazing work that is happening across the campus because idea is everybody's work. Right? Everybody in agreement? Okay. I'm feeling the love from streamers too. People are like, yes, that's right, as they're watching. Idea is everybody's work. And so part of what the Idea Advisory will be doing is just making sure that we're connecting the dots in our work across the campus. We'll also be starting an anti-racist work group that'll really be geared towards looking at interrogating and dismantling specific policies, procedures, and practices that disproportionately impact our students when we look at race and ethnicity. So those are some things that we'll be rolling out this upcoming fall. If you're hearing that, I heard a yeah coming from over here. So if you're excited about that, this is an opportunity for you to be engaged on the advisory. It is open. We don't want a 50-person advisory, but there's opportunities for folks to engage in different work groups and in different ways. Another work group that launched in spring and will officially continue in fall is an accessibility work group. And part of the A in IDEA is really recognizing that accessibility is not just a practice that we do for our students with disabilities or our employees with disabilities. It is an equity-minded practice, period. So working to have an accessible campus and ensure that there is accessibility for everyone, especially our students, is an equity-minded practice that we're going to be looking at. The work group met in spring and started to do some initial work, and it was folks from all different areas of the campus. And we talked about how we can look to develop a campus-wide plan around accessibility, really identifying what are the core areas that we need to be mindful of, not just the laws and the regulations, but also best practices. We also are going to look to develop a landing page, a website landing page that's a resource. Our Student Accessibility Services does an amazing job of providing a lot of resources for accessibility, but this page will augment that and take it to an institutional level. Yes. Your voice matters. It is important in this work that we do not forget that your voice matters. The experiences of not just our students, but all of you in the room, all of you streaming, those who didn't have a chance to log in because they're serving a student right now or busy trying to work to a deadline. Your voice matters. And so a core part of this work is really listening. And when we're looking at data, we have a lot of really robust data that we're lucky at MiraCosta. We have multiple data dashboards and a lot of data to look at, but we got to ask ourselves the question, why are we seeing what we are seeing in the data? And it's important to not just ask that question of folks in the room who might be experts in looking at data or implementing strategies or working in the classroom or working in support services. It's important that we ask the data of the communities most impacted. So in 2019, we engaged in this work, and we're going to be doing it again this upcoming fall by launching our DI inquiry groups. We already had a few groups in spring, and we'll continue those groups in fall. So for this, there is a QR code. This is what happens when you have millennials and zillennials help you with your slides. The QR code is a sign up where you can look to see for those who identify with a disproportionately impacted group. There will be 2 groups that are offered per identity, one that will be online and one that will be in person. There will be food provided for the one in person. That's not a reason to go, but it might be a little incentive. It's an opportunity for us to connect with each other, and there will be staff there that are there to listen. So we'll be looking at our disproportionately impacted data, but data on our Black students will be looked at by a group of employees and students who identify as being Black. Data for our Latinx Chicanic students will be looked at, and we'll answer that question, why do we see what we see in the data, by our communities that identify as Latinx Chicanics, and so on for all of our disproportionately impacted students. And this is important because it's grounded in social justice. So it's not just saying that we need to disaggregate the data. We're saying we need to disaggregate the data, but we also need to make sure we're elevating the voices of the communities most impacted in identifying what we need to do to close equity gaps. So I encourage folks, if you identify with a group that we identify as disproportionately impacted for our student groups on campus, please, please, please sign up to come to one of these groups. Let your voice be heard. Share your opinions, your perspectives. Your voice is incredibly important. We also are relaunching as part of EEOAC, and that's the Equal Employment Advisory Committee. I had to think about it in my head. That's not what those initials stand for. The Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory. The EEOAC has looked at regularly data on the diversity of our employees. And so raise your hand if you updated your information in Workday in the past year that had to do with your identity. So what we are doing is we're relaunching this specific to sexual orientation and gender identity, because it's incredibly important for us to understand the diversity of our employees here at the college, especially as it relates to sexual orientation and gender identity. So the QR code takes you to a job aid that will walk you through how do you update your information in Workday. Data helps us, again, to have a better understanding of who our campus community is. It also is critically important in our EEO work and in our EEO plan. So EEOAC is looking to relaunch this information, encourage folks to update their information, and then look at that data so we have an understanding of the diversity of our employees. I want to also emphasize this information is confidential. So as you update your information in Workday, that is not viewed by the advisory committee. We just see the aggregate, but the data, again, is incredibly powerful. Okay, raise your books if you got a book on the way in. All right, it is campus-wide book reading time, one of my favorite times in the year. Thank you to everybody who submitted a recommendation for us to do a book read this upcoming year. We had several folks that filled out the Google form that went out across the campus in spring. There's a group that met over the summer, connected to advisories, committees, folks who are doing work related to IDEA, to review all of those suggestions, and we landed on 2 specific books. And this is where I cannot rely on my glasses. We Want to Do More Than Survive, Abolitionist Teaching in the Pursuit of Educational Freedom by Bettina Love. And our spring read will be We Are Not Here to Be Bystanders by Linda Sarsour. We heard, for those who went to NCORE this past year, there was a small group of us. Linda Sarsour is an incredibly powerful speaker. Bettina Love is a professor at Teachers College. And both of these books are really, again, going to help further our commitment to being a racially just campus and to really centering IDEA in our work. So I want to do a special shout out. They don't know that I'm going to ask them to do this, but I'm going to ask our Student Equity Department members to please stand. Sam and Autumn, that did mean you. They were out early in the morning when the donuts arrived to set up the table, to make sure that the books were prepped. Thank you to Christina Londi, our Director of Student Success and Equity, for ordering books, for getting everything prepared so that when folks came in today, they could pick books up. We will be sending information out to the campus on where you can go at each one of our district sites to get books. So if you're streaming or you haven't gotten your book yet, there's plenty of opportunities to get the books. The next step is going beyond just getting the book, but we're hoping folks will read the books, and then we'll have opportunities to engage on these topics as we continue to dialogue around IDEA. So we're hoping to also bring some of the authors to the campus, if not in fall, then in spring. The Bias Education Support Team is a team of folks that are here at MiraCosta. Some of you might know that we have a BEST team, we call it BEST for short, that meets monthly to keep track of what's happening in our community. So part of my role is to be a member of BEST. If you're a member of BEST, can you stand? I know I'm asking people to do a lot of standing, but hey, I want to make sure to rep folks. So we have Nick Mortallone, who is our Dean of Student Affairs, Haley Schwarzkopf, who is our Director of Labor Relations and Title IX, Christina Londi, who's our Director of Student Success and Equity, Kristen Hike, who's our Director of Governmental Relations and Public Information Officer, and myself. We meet monthly. Sometimes we meet multiple times, depending on what is happening in our community. Sometimes we're even on a Sunday night phone call because we are looking to see, are there bias incidents? What is the news saying about what is happening across the country? And we know right now there is a lot happening across the country. There's a lot happening in our backyard that we need to be mindful of. This work is incredibly important, but it can sometimes feel a little frustrating because it feels reactive. Because you turn on the news, you learn about something, and then you try to prepare and have the conversation. How does this impact the campus? How do we notify folks of what's happening? How do we provide support for communities that are impacted? And a lot of that can feel like you're waiting for the information to come to you. So we had a meeting and we wanted to talk about ways to be a little bit more proactive and to share with our campus community some of the things that we have been seeing in the past year, biases that we see, whether that's in the school system, whether we see it in legislation, across the country, in California, or locally. So we are developing a bias education webinar series that's the first Wednesday of each month, starting in September. It'll be focused on some of the things that we're observing. So it's a little bit different than just having topics related to IDEA. We're focused very singularly on what are the types of biases that are taking place in our community and how do we make sure our campus community is aware. The webinar will consist of speakers that are coming from all different parts of our community to share a little bit about what they are seeing, what that bias is, and then with a focus on awareness, education, and then advocacy. It is 1 hour out of your schedule each month. We will record these as well, so for folks who aren't able to attend, we'll have them available on the IDEA website. But this is a great opportunity for folks to engage and to think about, as students are showing up to your classes, whether that's showing up physically in person or virtually, what are some of the things that are impacting our students? What are some of the things that are impacting our colleagues? What are we being impacted by? And how can we just increase our awareness to have a better understanding of what's happening? So those are two more ways to get engaged with IDEA work. Okay, I'm looking at the time and I am way over, so I'm gonna speed it up just a little bit so that we can get you out of here by 11 o'clock. Tim already mentioned this in the slides that we will be opening social justice and equity centers. We wanna make sure that folks know, yes, we can take time to clap for that. This is built upon what really years of alums, right, have fought for. Some of you who are in the room who were prior MiraCosta students who fought for spaces for our disproportionately impacted students. So this is a dream realized that has been generations of MiraCostans, not just the folks who are currently working on it. But we have a structure. We've been working with architects, carving out spaces, looking at walls. These spaces will be in 3400 and 3700 after there are moves from those services into the new student services building. This isn't necessarily what they look like, but I love good renderings because it gets you excited. You see the students in the space, you could picture it, you could feel the energy. So we will be opening multiple centers in 3400 and centers in 3700, as well as a larger space designed for academic and support services. So just know that our students have been fantastic in providing input and letting their voices be heard and talking to architects. Our architects have also done focus groups, and we'll do additional focus groups in fall. These need to be student-centered, and they need to be designed by the communities that they will serve, and so that's the focus that we are taking. So in summary, and then I am off and going to hand it to Tao Ha, who's going to talk about our path to persistence. Just a few updates and idea. I'm excited I got a logo. So we have a MiraCosta alum, Autumn Hill, who is here. She is our Umoja liaison and also our interim student services coordinator. She has a background in graphic design and heard me use the quote from Lewis Latimer last All College Day, where I talked about my son doing a project and looking at Lewis Latimer as an inventor that looked like him. And she designed a logo based on that inspiration. So I'm really excited about that. That will be featured on the website, and you could also see it in multiple places. So when you see the light bulb, you know that that is something that's connected to IDEA work. And then the IDEA website has gone through an update, so thank you to ITS who has assisted in making those updates. The focus of that website is to provide resources, including all the things that I just talked about, that are going to be updated on the website so you can reference them. So I'm going to wrap up quickly and hand it off to Tao because I think you have 1 minute.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I had a 5 to 7 minute speech, but screw it, we gotta roll. So 1 minute left. I am here to usher us into the next activity. For those of you we've heard some tough news, right? I have some good news, and then I got some great news. So the good news is, if you didn't RSVP, I guess you're ready to go after this. The great news is if you did RSVP, we're inviting you to the cafeteria. We have food for you. I heard some stomachs growling a while ago. But all of this talk about the investment in our infrastructure and technology and all the pieces that are non-human. And what we're going to do in this path to persistence is an investment in ourselves as the human resources, the human capital that is at the heart of the work that we do to help our students. Persistence is about getting them to that next milestone. My colleague, Luke Lara, often mentioned milestones when we're talking about academic maps and getting students through, and the celebration of those milestones. And who better to celebrate with our students than ourselves? And so I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna invite you over there. We actually start at 11:15, it's 11 right now, and I'm gonna ask us to be really intentional about thinking about the heart work that we do, and what are the things and the mechanisms that we can pull from ourselves to inspire our students, push them through, and to persist. And so we are going to have some persistence data, but why does that matter, and how do we get our students to pass through this pathway? One last real quick story. Persistence, milestones, celebration. I'm an immigrant kid. My parents are Vietnamese refugees, and myself too. We never celebrated anything. I got my PhD, and they were like, good for you, you were supposed to, right? And I'm like, thanks? So, but our students, we work with some of the most vulnerable student populations, and just a certificate of achievement, just a passing of one semester, just getting their foot in the door and onto our campus is an achievement for them. So how can we celebrate that, and how do we get them through? So I'm excited. I'll see y'all over there in the cafeteria, and if you're not coming, I guess you're gonna miss out. Hope maybe you have FOMO. Next time RSVP, and have an amazing semester.
I'd sit and think I'd catch this curse. And now I can't tell right from wrong. was a fool to think that you would wait for me. Why did I let you go? But I can't help but find your picture one more time to see your face light up my phone. I don't know what the future will be holding. All I know is I wanna be holding you. No, I didn't think I needed your love, but you're the only one that I've been thinking of. I'll do anything to get back your love. Said that you want me, said that you want me back. Just tell me what I gotta do to get you in my life, just like we were before. Before I quit, I lost my grip, I let you slip out into the night, and watched you close the door. I don't know what the future will be holding. All I know is I wanna be holding